Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.
And you're very welcome along to Friday Night Racing. I'm delighted to say we've got David Jennings of the Racing Post in the Johnny Ward role today, but also beside him we've got Johnny Murtagh in the Johnny Murtagh role. How you doing, lads? Very welcome.
John, how are you?
I was very excited about this show, I have to say, and then the two of you started talking Meath football and I was like, no, not having it. Two Meath football aficionados, and you living in Kildare, I can't believe.
Yeah, well, listen, I've grown up in Meath. Meath was a big part of it. You know,
we open our arms to you, we adopt you, and you're like, no, I'm still...
But my daughters are now playing for Kildare, so, you know, I have to go, and, you know, on the ladies' side of it, you know, ladies' football is going huge in Kildare, and I'm a follower of Kildare now.
When the ladies' football team are up against Meath, who are you shouting for in that game?
Well, Meath are playing, Meath are playing Kildare in the minor final this year, because both teams beat Dublin, and it's the first time in 8 years Dublin have got beaten in the ladies' minor. So... that'll test me, but you know, my daughter is she's the daddy's favourite, so
yeah,
she's the one.
Fair enough.
The Royals are back, Johnny. The Royals are back. Division 1 football beckons.
Well,
don't turn now.
Next week.
Through the hardship.
Next week will tell us everything. We keep saying that for the last few years, but next you couldn't ask for better. You know, in Park Talton, playing Fermanagh, winner takes all.
And look, they actually have been building over the last couple of years. They put in good performances. Last year's championship game against Tyrone wasn't a flash in the pan. Sometimes you get those one-off performances and all of a sudden it's not a big deal, but they backed it up this year, so fair play to them.
Yeah, we're getting quite excited. In Meath terms, we're getting quite excited. We've had nothing to shout about in the last decade, Johnny.
No, but a bit of consistency. And I say, if first time in 13 years, very hard to believe the Meath football has not been in Division 1 for 13 years. And I think it shows, you know, they need to be there. And if they do get there, I think they are building and they are going in the right way. You're
legitimately a fan of loads of sports. You walked in and picked up the picture of Katie Taylor and were like, she's a special woman. So you follow everything.
Oh, that's all I watch. In my house, my kids, like, and my wife are sick. There's Sky Sports on all the time, you know, Air Sport, everything like that. I'm a huge fan of sports. And I love, you know, they're recently, the American football. Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Like what he's done. You know, he's changed the whole lot. I'm 40, 41, 42. And I watched the documentary on him. What he does before pre-season, he's getting ready for pre-season. That he's
the avocado ice cream and
brings all the receivers to his house. Not a bad place to spend a weekend now.
No.
Not a bad place to spend a weekend. Tom Brady's house.
You get lots
barbecues,
of the West Wing.
And he has them all practicing the drills. You know, and I think that's what you have to do if you want to be. If you want to be the best in the world, or want to be the best, you have to put in the extra bits that are going to, you know, because like there's a lot of hungry lads trying to catch you.
Yeah. And
if you drop your guard at any time.
Were you like that?
I'll never forget, years ago, I had 8 seconds in a row. So I rang up the guy in UCD, Aidan Moore in UCD, sports guy, went up, spoke to him for about half an hour, crying at him, you know, I've lost the will to win. I used to be so determined, and 8 photo finishes in the row, and I'm after getting beaten. And after about half an hour, he said, Johnny, listen, you've lost the will to work. You're Johnny Murtagh, you're floating around in 4th gear. You know, you're not putting in... I said, did this guy not hear what I'm after saying for the last half hour? And he says, yeah, he says, you're floating around in 2nd gear, there's loads more left in the tank. And from then on, that was it. You know, there's loads more left. I don't believe in burnout. I believe in cop-out, but I don't believe in burnout.
Well, OK, let's go back to that. So when Aidan Moran sits there and tells you you're not putting it in, are you open to that, or are you, screw you, you know nothing? Were you angry initially when he said it?
No. When you really are honest to yourself and you look back, I was floating around. I had a big car. I was driving in. I was riding all these horses' work. You know, but you have to put in the extra yards. So, you know, first of all, then I said, OK, I want to be the fittest jockey in the weigh room. If I'm the fittest jockey in the weigh room, I'm one ahead of everybody at the start. And that's what I did. I got stuck in. And that year, I rode 12 Group 1s that year. Was that a coincidence? I got on good horses, I know. But if you're putting in the work, you usually get what you deserve in life.
When you look back at the 8 seconds, was there something... Was your technique not great? Was it will to win? Was it a combination of a bunch of different things?
I just said to myself, I just rang my agent, I says, I'll never get beaten another photo finish. So that was my mindset. I got beaten loads of photo finishes after that.
Yeah.
But that was my mindset. When it came down to the finish, who wants it the most? I think in a lot of sports, when it comes down like to elite, who wants the most? And I go back to the rugby match last week, Wales, Ireland. 2 brilliant teams, 2 brilliant coaches. Who wanted it most? Wales wanted it most.
Jack Nicklaus had this thing where after a round one time. He'd had a lot of 3-putts, and the guy, I'm going to butcher this story now, so if I get it wrong, somebody can correct us, but he gets asked in the press conference afterwards about the 3-putts, and he goes, what 3-putts? He just blanked it straight from his mind. Like, it's your thing there about, like, I'm never going to get beaten in another photo finish. You do, but, like, because you said you didn't, or you're not going to, you've got this kind of weird psychological ability to go.
And that has to be in racing, because you have 7 rides every day. So if you butcher the first one, or give the first one a bad ride, you can't carry on to the next one, because the next one is the most important one. And, you know, past tense, I'm still a great jockey. I believe I'm the best. I'll beat any of these lads in the finish, and it's on to the next one.
What age were you when you went to see Aidan Moran?
It was in the year 2000, so it was well on in my career. Like,
yeah.
But that just at that time I needed something like
must have triggered, like, 'cause him specifically, obviously, like, people might not be familiar with his work, but I think he's worked with a bunch of the golfers as well, and, like, it's he's got a really great reputation. He's written a couple of books. How did you hear about him? What was it was obviously in your mind that you needed a little bit of exterior help.
I never went back to him. I only went to him once. You know, I never went back to him again. I only went to him once, but he ignited something in me that your body will overcome anything. You're able to overcome anything. You know, the starvation, the diet, and the sweating. And I used to be in the sauna in the morning, and I'd be taking off, and you'd be taking off the last pound, and you'd be down the bottom, and you'd be trying to get the last pound off, and you'd be kind of thinking about the day ahead. And, oh, gee, how am I going to get through it? You know, that's what you'd be thinking. How am I going to get through the day? I'm riding 4 favourites. I'm riding the biggest races in the world. How am I going to get through it? And all of a sudden, you have a cold shower, you put your suit on, you walk from the car to the weigh room, and when you need to get into that weigh room, it's like you just forget about everything. It's just a clean slate, the race, last minute preparation, you look at it, you have to go through it the night before, and it's just something switches in. You get a cup of tea, 2 sugars or 3 sugars, it's like you're after getting a shot in the arm. It's like, you know.
It's a McDonald's to the rest of us.
You know, you're out like, and it's, you know, you're just in the zone.
Yeah.
And looking back, and I say, how did I do it?
Yeah.
Something kicks in. Something kicks in. I don't know what it is. I don't know if everybody has it. I don't know if you can give it to them. You know, I'll be trying to give it to them. I don't know if you can. But something kicks in.
Andy Lee talks about that walk, the ring walk, you know, because he's the world's nicest man. I don't know if you've ever met him, but he is an absolute gent. And then he gets into the ring and it's now I'm killer. Now I'm a killer. And, like, I guess it's the same. You get to the starting line, the bit you were saying earlier on about, like, I'm going to beat any of these guys in a finish. They think the same about you. And it is the most competitive part of your sport, those finishes.
It's all right saying it, but do you believe it? You know, because we all get a great spiel, you know, oh yeah, I'd beat anyone, but do you believe it? Like, I was believing it. I had myself convinced, because I was telling myself. I had myself convinced.
From a teenager, from like 19, 20, or did it kick in at some point?
The first time it ever happened to me was, I was boxing in the All-Irelands. I was 13. I was boxing a guy called Joe Sutcliffe. He was from Drimnagh. His brother was Phil Sutcliffe. He was just back from the Olympics, and he got a big cheer before, and in his corner is Phil Sutcliffe. And I'm from Navan Boxing Club. I'm boxing in the stadium against Joe Sutcliffe. First round goes on, he wins it. Second round, 50-50. Third round, I'm getting on top. Split decision, 4-1 in favour of Joe Sutcliffe. I came out of the ring that day and I said, that will never happen to me again. I will never, ever be beaten before the event. I will never, ever give anyone that much respect again. I'll respect them, okay, but respect them, but no respect at the same. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I will give everything I can. I will give everything I can. And if it's not good enough, you only have yourself to answer. When you're lying in the bed at night, you only have to answer to yourself.
No intimidation from anybody after
No intimidation, never be beaten before the event. And that's where that started. And then, as I said, different people and listening to different people and watching. You know, I love reading books of those great players. Like, my idol would have been Michael Jordan. Greatest basketball player of all time. He wanted the ball when the game was on the line. If there was 2 seconds left, he wanted the ball. He's not getting paid millions of pounds, and then, it came to him on his wrong foot. You know, shouldn't have a wrong foot. Shouldn't have a wrong foot. You know what I mean? So he wanted the ball when the game was on the line. That's what great players do. So do you want to be good or do you want to be great? I wanted to be great. And I wasn't always like that, because you'd be nervous before those big races. And, you know, the build up before, then you get in and your first thought, I hope nothing goes wrong today. In the end, that wasn't even I wouldn't even let it entertain my mind, in case subconsciously it would get in.
Yeah.
Because that, subconsciously it will. So nothing can go wrong today, Johnny. You know what's going to happen. You know the horse as well. You're the best. Nothing can go wrong.
This is your interior monologue at that stage. And so at some point it was, I hope nothing will go wrong. And again, there's an evolution from that to the point where you're like, no, we got this now. Did that take winning? Did you need to win to be able to do that? Or were you able to talk to yourself first into winning?
Like, fear is a great motivator. So I was motivated for years by fear, because I didn't come from a racing background. I was just so afraid someone will tap you on the shoulder and say, listen, you're from Bormeen, you went brown into this, you're just getting lucky. We know who you really are. So that was really driving me on, with fear that I might really find out who I am, or that I'm not meant for this, or this, I'm not good enough for this. But then in the end, I was doing the work. I had a great team around me. I had great people around me, and I knew then, I knew I'd put in the hours, and then I started feeling really comfortable with myself as well.
And that's when the flowering of all your full ability starts to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We skipped a few bits there, obviously, from being a boxer to being the best jockey in the world. 13-year-old boxer becomes best jockey in the world. What the hell? How? Like, what's that?
There's something inside me. I don't know what it is. I still have it. Playing table tennis with the kids. Can't let them win. I'm not trying to beat them. I don't smash it to them, but I don't give them any points away. I says, no, you can't. No unforced errors.
Yeah.
Don't be. I didn't win that game. You gave it to me. You hit 3 out, 4 into the net. So my poor kids are
mentally scarred for life.
Demented. But
when did you decide you wanted to be a jockey, though? How do you go? So I presume when you're 13 and the Sutcliffes and the power of the brand probably affects the split judging, but after that you want to be a world champion boxer, but at some point...
I was into all sport. Like, I played basketball, played football, boxing, cross-country running, done everything like that. And my cousins had donkeys and ponies down in Cortown. I used to go down and ride them, and we used to, ride the donkeys around the field, and it was great crack. And my mother met a guy one night at the boxing. He says, geez, he'd be a good jockey. He said, he's tenacious, he's light, good balance.
Yeah.
And he gave her the number for race, the apprentice school in Kildare. My mother wrote away at the apprentice school in Kildare, and away I went. Knew nothing about it, knew one jockey, knew Lester Pickett. I knew Lester Pickett, that was the only jockey I knew.
Yeah.
And
good one to know, in fairness.
It was, yeah. Got accepted for the 2-week course. Went down. I don't know if I loved being a jockey, but I went down there was 26 lads. Like, I was living at home. I was the eldest of 3, two younger sisters. And
are you 15 or 16 at this stage, or?
Yeah, 15 or 16. Good way to get out of school. I didn't like school much, you know what I mean? It was a good way to get out of school. And 26 lads down there, great crack, always something to do. And then I got introduced to the horses. And as soon as I got into it, like, again, all my intentions was, like, those 26, I had to learn how to ride from 15, just learn how to ride, hold the reins, do the trotting. But all I kept saying to the lads was, how far am I behind the good lads? Because there was lads there pony racing, show jumping. So the 26 friends I had down there were now the opposition. All I wanted to do was, and I didn't end up being the best on the course, to give a saddle out at the end. Joe Fanning actually won the saddle at the end of the 10-month course. But I ended up being the best sportsman. And, like, as I said, I was just consumed by just
being the best.
Being the best of that group, and then I said going out there. And, like, I look back at my life and my career, and I just think, was I lucky? Or was I lucky? Because I went home on a Friday, after 2 months learning how to ride, the guy says on a Friday evening, he goes, Johnny Murtagh, you're going to a guy called Robert Connolly. He's a young trainer on the Curragh. He's starting up. He might give you a chance. So I go home delighted, tell my mother and father, I'm going to a guy called Robert Connolly. He's a young trainer on the Curragh. His dad is Mick Connolly, who's a legendary trainer, and he's starting out and I'm starting out, and maybe he'll give me a chance. So we're in the bus on Monday morning, and we're all sitting down, and the driver gets in. He goes, Murtagh, there's a bit of a change. He says, you're going to John Ox. John Ox wants 2 apprentices now instead of 1 apprentice. So, like...
The sliding doors moment. I think you would have made
it's like, I don't know if it was luck. I don't know if it was meant to be. I believe now that people were putting me place all the time, you know, and from then on I went out to John Ox's, spent 2 months riding the pony. We used to come back like in the lunch to have lunch and not in the apprentice school, and everybody eating the dinner, and how'd you get on today? And one fella say, I rode 4 horses for Tracy Collins, and I rode 3 horses for Dermot Weld, and you know, I rode Robbie Connolly. My friend was gone to Robbie Connolly now, and he says, oh yeah, I rode a bit of work up the Welch's Hill this morning. How are you getting on? I rode 1 lot on the pony. So I was like demented, like, you know what I mean?
At the start, it didn't look like it was...
So 2 months, John Ox, pony. So again, I couldn't wait to get on the horses. Like,
Can I just ask, is this like Mr. Miyagi in
oh, I think it is. I think it is.
You're on the pony, it's like wax on, wax off, and you're like,
It
what
felt
the
like
hell
that.
is
It
this?
felt like that. I couldn't wait. And then like when I got on the race horses, I said, geez, I better not mess this up. You know, again, driven by fear. Better not mess this up, or I'm going to be stuck on the pony all my life.
And so this is just riding out at this stage,
Yeah.
and he's looking at the horse and he's thinking, who's this jockey? Should we give him a go? But he's held you back to the point where, are you having conversations? Are you like...
I'm having conversation. Like, I
Coach,
don't know
put
if
me
I don't know if I'm having a conversation, but his dad, John Ox Senior, was a Meath man, and he used to show me his medals he won for like Meath hurling.
All right.
Yeah, so I was in with him.
Okay, yeah.
So I had a way in with him.
That was a
but
good start.
he still wasn't. Didn't seem to be. You know, he didn't seem to be pushing me forward for the horses. But the horses were probably difficult riding oxes at the time. So John Ox probably wasn't going to put me on a horse that I wouldn't be able to handle.
Yeah.
Now I thought I could handle anything at this stage. Like I was 16. I was coming out of the apprentice school. I was like going really well.
You had a good 9 months experience of horses.
And 2 months experience on the pony. So, but when I got on the horses, then it was like it just took to it like a duck to water, and he signed me on the following May.
Right.
He signed me on as an apprentice. I got my first ride the following June, and my third ride was a winner.
Right. So from that point, well, it seems like you knew, like an hour and a half into the first day at race, you're like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. Or was there doubts?
I just liked the atmosphere, and when I look back at it, I wonder if you threw me into the middle of a cattle shed. I just wanted to be.
Would you be a farmer now, kind of like?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I would. If it took me my mind's very strong. When I put my mind to it, like if I zoned in on something.
Yeah.
If I zone in on it, that's it.
I remember the first time, I actually never told you this, but the very first time I interviewed Johnny Murtagh, there was a newspaper in Meath called the Meath Post. I don't know if you remember Meath coming then. I was only just out of college. River Media set up all these newspapers, the Post in every county. I think the Kildare Post is still going. So I was in the Meath Post with Donegal Boyle, actually, from the Irish Independent. 2 of us were doing sports. So I was sent down to interview Johnny Murtagh, arranged for the photographer. Barry Cronin came down, took pictures, spent half the day with you, chatting away, as you can tell. Like, what a man, for quotes and everything. He's like a journalist dream. So I must have spent about 4 days writing the piece. I have to get this. Racing was my big passion. Johnny Murtagh interview in the Meath Post. Wrote the whole interview.
Don't screw it up.
3,000 words. This has to be brilliant, you know, trying to make an impression. So I wrote it, was delighted with the piece. Said, that's really good now. Couldn't wait to get the paper on Tuesday morning. Went into the shop, bought the paper. And what had happened was, it was a 2-page spread, and they had printed the right-hand page twice. So there was no left-hand page. So you couldn't even read the interview. So that was my first experience with Johnny.
That was his last interview with me.
You're finally forgiving him today.
No, I don't even remember it.
Yeah, I do. I do. Still scared.
A reminder, Friday Night Racing is brought to you by GoRacing.ie. Mark says on Twitter, I hear Tom Brady wears Johnny Murtagh pyjamas to bed, says Mark. Thanks for that one. And then Jerry says, wanting to be great is one thing, but that's a lofty ambition to set yourself. You need a steel backbone to realise that. I imagine Johnny must have super high expectations of the people he works with. Is he a ball breaker?
The kids reckon so, anyway.
Oh, Jesus, I kind of pushed him. You know, like now, at this day and age, like, don't push your kids. And, you know, like, it's not going to be easy in life. You know what I mean? So if I'm pushing them for a game of bloody table tennis, you know, like...
It's fair enough.
You know, no, I don't think I am. I've a good belief in what I do. And you know what I mean? As I said, and hey, I kind of, it's just if they fall into the right crowd, that's what they have to do. Yeah,
fair enough. The bit you were talking about loving it when you got down there, and like when you eventually get on the racehorse and believing that you could handle it all, was because you came late to the sport, were you obsessed with the technicalities of being a jockey, or were you more about the will? Was it more about kind of asserting the will over the horse and winning that way?
Yeah. When I went down to apprentice school, it was 1987, I'll never forget it. I was in the apprentice school, and there was a video there, you know, video with a video machine. The Mac Tombs were just after coming into Europe, into England, and there was the Mac Tombs of 87, you know, it was all the horses, all the great winners they had in 1987. And there was two jockeys. Steve Cotton rode in Sheikh Mohammed's Maroon Silks, and Walter Swinburne rode in Maktoum Al Maktoums, would have been the blue and the light blue V. So they featured prominently in this video, and they were the two I kind of idolised myself, and I could see them. Steve Cotton, brilliant. Walter Swinburne, you know, class. And that's kind of got me. I'm not saying I copied them, but that's who I was trying to copy.
Yeah.
You know, because Cotton was a bit taller, Swinburne was watching his weight, I was a bit the same. So they were my two idols then.
So stylistically, you modelled yourself on those?
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, exactly what you said, my will, that I like, when I get on horses, I think horses can feel it. They have a great sense. You know, I just wanted to win so bad. There was no option. You have to go forward. You have to win, and I made them win.
One thing you never did though, like you never complicated things. You're one of these jockeys that you were always in the right place at the right time. Like, you know, you'd see a Spencer now, and you know he's brilliant to watch because it's quite exciting, and he's out the back and he's weaving through. I always thought when you backed a Johnny Murtagh horse, you knew what you were going to get. He'd be in the right position at the right time. He knew the type of horse he was riding. He wouldn't complicate it, and visually it was great to watch because you always knew what you were going to get. And I don't know if that's you thought that when you were riding, maybe, especially with Aidan. You were always in the right place at the right time on Aidan's.
Yeah, I listen. That's it. Keep it simple. You know, there's a lot that can go wrong. Like, why would you be like? The main thing with me was finding out the tempo of the race. If I could look at the form, and you know, you hop out with you, the tempo of the race. Tempo's going to be good tempo today.
On the basis of there are some front runners, or these are slow.
Yes.
I'm going to have to make the running or not.
Yes. I loved making the running. I loved there was no tempo, I'd make the running. And if I got to the 2 furlong marker on my own, well, there's no one going to beat me then. I'm riding good horses, they're fit, they're well, I'm strong, I have the rail to run against, no one's going to get by me. But if the tempo was good, I could drop back. If the tempo was going to be slow, I'd be a little bit closer. Like, why would you be back 6th or 8th and the tempo's slow when I can be dropped in 3rd? That made sense to me. And I used to say to Richard Hughes, you know, just win. You know, don't be trying to
showboating.
Just win, because if you lose doing that, you're rising to put a target on your head.
Yeah.
You know, and it is people's money. There's people backing you, and there's owners there. You know, and
it's business.
It's business. Just win.
It's the entertainment business. It is business at the same time, but it is entertainment. People want to be entertained.
Yeah, but I guarantee you there'll be a lot more entertainers after backing you and you win than backing you flying home entertained and finishing 2nd.
This is a fair point. When you look back at your career, are there single individual things that you kind of still go, yeah, that's hairs in the back of my neck, or because there's so many of them, is it hard to pick them out? Like, is it just now a general sense of, yeah, that was great, like that was a brilliant part of my life when I was riding winners, or do you still go, there are still some key moments in that I know, yeah, now I've made it, or, well, that's a record, someone's not going to break that, or...
No, I don't think so. I think I done very well. I'd like to think I gave it my best shot all the time. You know what I mean? I got a bit. Listen, Everton was very easy to me. First year I rode 12 winners. Got my first ride in May. Rode my first winner in June. 12 winners that year. Ended up winning November handicap at Leopardstown. You know, so it was just so easy. You know, the riding was so easy. Next year I rode 22 winners. Next year champion apprentice 34 winners. Next year second in championship, 32 winners. So the first four or 5 years were just, like, I had a job with John Ox at 20. Didn't ride a horse till I was 15. 5 years later now I'm with John Ox, biggest powerful stable in Europe. Aga Khan has 50 horses or 80 horses. Sheikh Mohammed has 50. And I'm kind of 21 or 2. Wild. You know, like...
Do you realise how good you have it at that time? Like,
I didn't realise.
No.
I was, I was kind of...
Youth is wasted on the young.
Oh, yeah. Sure, like I was... Sure, listen, I was going out. There was no race on a Sunday. So Saturday night was a big night out, you know what I mean? So you worked hard all week, Saturday night, party central,
Yeah.
you know. And sure, I was, John Ox comes to me and goes, listen, we're going to have to part ways. You know, I'm hearing stories back. And,
Right.
you know, that was a kind of a...
Did that calm you down?
That was for about a week. But when you've gone that far, you know, like, he called me up to the office and he said, hearing stories. I carried 3 pound overweight one Saturday.
Right.
Got beaten neck. You know, so the stories were getting back. I didn't think anybody knew. I thought it was invisible. You know, when you're out, you think you're invisible, you know?
Yeah. But actually, you're quite famous.
Quite famous. And
Nijinsky's or the Silk and Thomas.
you know, so and so he says, listen, we're going to have to part ways. But he says, you know, keep your riding. He says, I'll use you when I can. So my first, like, typical me, straight away afterwards, I'll show him. So for the next month, like, I rode 4 winners in Galway that next week. I rode a treble the first day. You know, I rode 10 winners in the next 2 weeks. But that only lasted for so long, and then I kind of went and won and kind of quit the sport for a while. And
What happened there? Why did you quit?
sure, I was all over the place. I was, you know, drinking a lot and partying, and I just listen. There was a few times in my career where I thought I was finished. You know, that kind of way.
So this is early. This is like in your early 20s.
22.
Yeah.
At 22, I was in St. Pat's
Right.
for alcohol abuse.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was in there for about 6 weeks. You know, so.
Did someone bring you, or did you go yourself?
Well, I went and spoke to Dr. Murphy beforehand again. You know, as I said, I went to him and I spoke to him about how under the pressure I was under, and nobody realises all I'm under, and my job and my weight, because I was sweating quite a bit as well. So he kind of said to me, give up the drink for a week. I said, did this man hear what I'm saying? Like, does he not I said, I don't have a problem with drink. He says, I know that. He says, but you give it up for a week.
Yeah.
So I never went back to him. Needless to say. And then I crashed the car and I woke up with 2 black eyes, and I kind of went, maybe he's right.
Right.
So I went there for 6 weeks. That was a good learning curve, you know. That was, you know.
Do you remember much of that 6 weeks?
I do remember a lot of it.
Yeah. What kind of stuff?
Well, I remember waking up in the second floor, which wasn't too bad, because if you went up to the 3rd floor, you knew you were in really trouble. So as the higher you went, the worse shape you were in. So I didn't think I was too bad at the time. But do you know, I was just after watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right.
So I was like Jack Nicholson in there, knew everybody, was making the tea for all the lads. But no, it was brilliant. I really learned a lot, you know. And
So you go from a boxer who's never ridden to an apprentice to one of the best jockeys in the land to 6 weeks drying out. It's an amazing short.
Good autobiography, isn't it?
Like it's a, you know.
It is, yeah. But that's the reality. That's what happened. I think maybe I look back, maybe I got, you know, too much,
easy.
too quick,
Yeah.
too easy. That wasn't easy at the time, because I was taking off 4 or 5 pound every day, you know, before I got to the races. But it was a big joke, really. I thought it was a bit of crack, and
Yeah.
didn't look on it as a job. It was a bit of crack, and you just had to perform. Then on a Saturday, you could float around, you could float along for the week, and then perform well on a Saturday, ride 3 or 4 winners at the Curragh or Naas or whatever. And yeah, but that was the reality. That's what happened. And I came out there after Christmas, and I went to John Ox. Says, listen, I told him what happened. I need a base. He said, okay. He says, you can ride out here. Started with him on the 1st of February. He said, not guaranteeing any rides. I said, no, I don't. It doesn't matter. I says, I didn't even know if I wanted to ride then. But after then, 6 weeks, start of the season was the 17th of March. He gave me a ride the 17th of March. First ride he gave me was winner at Naas. So it was up and running again. And one of those moments was Mick Kinnan was riding a lot for John Ox at the time. Richard Hughes was riding a lot for him at the time. And I was kind of 3rd choice. But I was getting a few rides and I was tipping away. And after the first winner at the Naas, I was kind of back going again. And racing short, you know, they know you're back into the swing of things. Johnny's back. He's back in good shape. I was riding 8-7. I was in good shape. I was trying really hard. And I'll never forget Pretty Polly Day at the Curragh. I rode a filly called Takaruna for John Ox and the Aga Khan. She had 8 stone 7. She was a bit tricky. She got pony to the start. Mick Kinnan had the ride for Mydler. And Lester Pickett was riding one of those Michael Grassics. So I beat Mick Kinnan and Lester Pickett in the photo finish, short head and neck.
Right.
I think that was
That's a moment.
That was a moment. I have that picture up on my wall. It was just it was a moment where I knew
Back.
I was back. I knew I was back. I wasn't back with John Knox yet, but the following year I was back in the swing of things.
That first winner isn't quite you back. It's you going, I can still do this. That one is you going, I'm back.
Yeah.
And also,
I knew I was back then as well, because I said I still got jocked off. But like, I grew up in John Knox's, all the lads, I was there with all them from a young age, so I was back there every day.
yeah,
You know, I knew the feed man, I knew the guy weighing the horses.
it was family.
You know, yeah, and they wanted me back.
That matters, right?
They wanted me back. And you know, I believe that was the day that John Knox kind of said too. You know, he probably says, yeah, he is. He's everything he said he was. Because you know, you can tell them a good story, but actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, you've got to prove it again. You kind of lose a lot of the credit that you had built up from the first bit. Were you changed by the experience of drying out and going into rehab? Is that something that kind of you come out of immediately, or is that something you go, look, that's because you're still very young, you're still quite immature, even though you've been through enough to make a man.
Yeah.
Does it take a while for you to kind of filter that and go, oh, that was a life-changing experience and I need to grow up now?
Yeah, it was. You know, it was. And I got back in then with John Knox the following year, and as I said, the first big horse I kind of came across was probably Ridgewood Pearl, 95. Like, and I'm in Ireland now and I'm riding a lot, and Mick Kinnan is in Dermot Wells, so we're kind of, you know, head to head all the time. There was Christy Roach, Stephen Crane, Pat Gilson, Pat Shanahan. They were all a bit older than me, so I was kind of thrown into the middle of it. But now I was back with John Knox. Ridgewood Pearl comes along and she wins in Royal Ascot. She wins 4 Group 1s that year, and I thought that would elevate me up into the international scene, because Mick Kinnan was going up over every Saturday, Sunday over to England. He was winning the King George and Belmez, and like, so he was the target now. He was the main man. He was the target, and I thought I'd be there. But it took.
That's Ridgewood at Ascot.
Yeah, that was the first big one. That was, you know.
That's your being announced to the international sphere, is it?
I thought.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
No, it took me 5 more years.
Right.
It took me 5 more years to get on.
Why?
That.
What's the?
When I started off first, like in Ireland, on a Saturday, you'd turn up at the races and there'd be English jockeys coming over, and they would ride 6 or 7 favourites. Paul Edery, whoever came over. If there was an English horse running in the big race on the day, or 2 English horses running, they usually won the big race, and whoever rode them probably rode the rest of the favourites.
And they'd come from England.
They come from England.
Right.
Mick Kinnan kind of changed that, but it took a while. And I suppose people seeing Mick Kinnan going over to England and winning that, and then they were kind of watching Ireland, and we were beating them kind of every day over here.
Yeah.
So we're kind of saying maybe them lads over there are not too bad.
Yeah.
So the Irish, like we were very, very strong.
What's the break in England? Is it finding the right agent? Is it a connection? Is it just continuing to win to the point where you can't be ignored?
The cake in England is so big, everybody gets a little slice. The cake in Ireland is very small. And they're savages in Ireland, so everybody wants a bit of that cake. You know? So if you're starved from that big cake, as soon as you get over to England,
Yeah. Hey,
there's cake. There's a lot of cake here, and I'm going to eat a lot of it. But you do need a base in England. You need a base, you need a base in England, and that's. When you get over there and get into the scene. But it took me until 2000. When Sindar won the Derby, I think, winning the Derby, biggest race over there, the race you all want to, everyone wants to win.
Yeah.
That kind of opened it up. Plus that year, Kieran Fallon got a bad fall in Ascot, and he was out for most of the year. So Michael Stout, I went over and started riding for Michael Stout. So I rode 12 Group 1s that year.
At that stage, you're a free agent effectively? You're not really.
No, I'm with John Knox, but John Knox very understanding. He knew, by letting me go over and riding all those big races,
He would be able to keep you for everything else.
Well, he knew that if he had horsed for these big races, I'm after getting the experience of that. So when the Derby comes along every year, and I'm saying to John Knox, listen, I'm offered to ride in the Derby. Oh yeah, you go ahead. How about this racing? And no, we're okay, you go ahead. Because hopefully, one day, he has Sindar for the Derby.
Yeah.
Now I'm after having 5 or 6 goes in the Derby. So I know what it's like.
What a man.
You know, so that's smart. That's thinking outside the box, instead of saying, no, you're my jockey here, there's 4 maidens in There's 4 maidens in Naas, 2 of them will win. We need you here. They're going to win anyway.
And was he, for us, he was always a gentleman, you know, an absolute legend of the sport.
Yeah.
Was he like that to ride for?
Oh,
Was
he
he
was.
as much a gentleman?
He was. You know, he was. And I suppose the first time he really brought me up and pulled me up was that time once.
Yeah.
And even, you know, it wasn't even a bollocking, you know what I mean? It was,
Yeah. It was
just, these are the facts.
I'm not angry, I'm disappointed.
These are the facts. What could you say? You know, what could you say to him? But that's what he did. You know, that's what he did. That when Sindar did come along, he knew I was after having 4 or 5 goals in the derby. I knew what it would take. And that was one of the reasons. Derby day, I walked the track. I walked down to the 2-furlong mark. I walked back. 60,000 people there, infield packed, roaring. I knew John Ox fancied the horse. He was going really well. I knew he fancied the horse. The Aga Khan was after giving me a second chance, like from the time I was back in with the Aga Khan. He was after giving me a second chance. So I was there now. This is the day, Johnny.
What's your interior monologue?
This is the day, Johnny. This is not the day to fall weak. This is the day you've been wanting all your life. This is the day, now is the day to perform. You do what you do. You know, don't, you know, Crow Park all gets the players. That can't get to you, John. You know, this is where you want to be. This cannot be your... And I just went out with the mindset, it cannot be my fault this horse doesn't win today. I have to give him every chance and more to make sure he wins the derby. And I remember coming at the 2 marker in the derby, and he was coming. And the first thought was, you're going to win the derby. Don't show button, don't fall off. Just do what you do. Today is not a day for trying out something new. Just do what you do. It's going to be enough. It's been enough all the time. Just keep it very, very simple. And he won. And that was the day I thought I paid everybody back and more. The Aga Khan, John Ox, and you know, I think by my celebration or the way I was after it, I knew everybody was, not that I owed them anything, but I didn't owe them anymore.
What's the emotion that you're feeling?
Oh, listen, it's relief. It's relief. It's relief. You know, it's relief, and I don't know what it is. It never goes away. That feeling, like and sometimes you can get that feeling winning a maiden in Roscommon for some owner breeder that you know what they've gone through to get it there. Because my wife keeps saying to me, you know, it's easy to get up for Derby Day. It's easy to get up, and I was always good at getting up for the Royal Ascots, Epsom, Derby Day. But something happened to me. My wife said to me, she said, Johnny, it's someone's derby, Roscommon. And, you know, I was a bit like that. Probably my life was a bit like that. So I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I wanted to be measured on, I think it was unfair. Riding fees are 155 quid, I think. So it's unfair to be this Johnny for Derby Day for 155, and for Roscommon on a Monday, be that Johnny. It might get you through the maiden, but it didn't just feel right with me.
Did it take your wife saying that for you to kind of, for that penny to drop along the way as well? That,
yeah.
Like, yeah. It's a hard life though, right? Is part of that just because it's a mad life where you are sweating and you are making the weights and you are kind of having 3 sugars in your tea, and that's the highlight of your week in some ways?
Yeah, it is. And that was a hard part of it, because you still had to do as much sweating on a Monday for Roscommon, because you probably did celebrate after winning the derby on a Saturday by having a bit of dinner. You know, you probably did.
Yeah.
But you knew even eating your dinner. Like, you know, I wasn't. You knew even eating your dinner. I wonder how much running I'm going to have to do tomorrow for this. Yeah. You knew what you had to do for tomorrow for this. So there was no enjoyment in it. There was like, you were eating there, it was great, you have to win the derby, but you knew you had 4 rides in Roscommon and you had to do 9 stone, and it was going to take as much effort
to do that
on a Monday in Roscommon as it did for Derby Day.
Is it a coincidence that we hear stories of so many of the flat jockeys in particular having difficulties with addiction issues?
No.
What can be done about it?
Well, Shane Foley came to me the other day, and there was one young lad got done, you know, and he says to me, "Jeez, like, he should have known he was riding next week." So I kind of looked at him, I said, "Shane, if I was out on a night out, the last thing on my mind would be riding next week. You know? And if anything was thrown your way after a few drinks, you were game for anything.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're out for a night out, you're here having one of them, you know, oh yeah, what are they? Oh, they're great. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know. But it is like, there's a lot more education now.
Is that it? Is that
I
the
think
only...
it is. I think it is. And I think it's down to the lads themselves to talk a bit more about it. Be a bit more open. I go in and do a lot of talks, you know, now. And like they'll never reach their true potential. Like you look at all the... There was some greats down through the years like that just... Like, you know, I'm not saying don't drink, but they never reached...
Yeah.
Like, as I say, you never reach your true potential of drinking and drugging.
Yeah.
Do you know, if you want to be great, like I think, be great for a long time. No.
Give yourself the chance that you're not going to look back.
Well, I didn't want to wake up when I was 50 and I was sitting in the pub with the boys and saying, you know what, if I'd done this,
I could have been a contender.
I could have done this, or if I'd done that, or I should have done this and I should have done that. I wanted to give myself a clean shot. And if it wasn't good enough, well, at least I gave myself every chance.
The science behind the dietary and all that kind of stuff, was that something that ever...
I had so many diets down through the years. I had so many people coming in. In the end, another great story. I went down to a guy called Giles Warrington down in Limerick. I was about 26 at this stage, you know, and I was wondering, am I doing any damage to myself, you know? Do you know when you get to one of these clarity moments? I wonder, am I doing any damage to myself, or could there be...
Probably.
Could there be work? Could I be a problem later on in my life?
Yeah.
First, I don't know why I even said it, because that never even bothered me, you know what I mean? So, so I went down, I sat down with him, and I started telling him what I was doing, running with sweatsuits on, piss pills, shit pills.
Right.
You know, different ways to lose weight, yeah. Running for 20 minutes, getting in the car with the heater on, driving to the races, taking off 5-6 pound every day. And I could see him kind of shifting in his chair. He was kind of moving in his chair a little bit uncomfortable, you know. So I kind of looked at him. I says, will I tell him the lot, or will I kind of, you know? And I say it was the first time I told Eddie. I said, I didn't know him. First time I met him, I said, he seems all right. I said, what's the worst he can do? You know, carry me away in a straight jacket. So I told him the lot, and he was fidgeting in his chair. And he said to me, and you're right after this? Oh, yeah. I said, yeah, have a cup of tea, 2 sugars. So he said to me, when do you rehydrate? Well, I said, the season starts in March and ends in November, so I usually rehydrate November, December. He was a sports guy.
Yeah.
He was totally blown away. He couldn't believe it. So he kind of got involved with me, and he got me on a diet. And and then I have like Adrian McGoldrick. Like, he's my doctor. So like I would have spoke to him lots. Yeah. And there was often days where I felt like I was giving up, and there was times I said, I'm not able to do this anymore. Hang in there. He'd say, hang in there. Hang in there. I'll take your blood. The great thing was to take your blood. You know, I'll take me blood. I don't feel well. Johnny, 100% your blood. He says, you're 100%. So like, as soon as he said that, it was like, again, another shot in the arm. So off I went again, you know. So he's like, when I look back at it, sure, he was brilliant. But he's a great friend of mine as well. And he just kept me in. I was hanging in at times. But this guy, Giles Warrington, says, right. So I got a team around me then. So now, as I said, I had a dietitian, Gillian O'Loughlin. She used to come and... I used to start the 1st of February. Season starts 17th of March. So I give myself 6 weeks every year. Yeah. So she'd start saying, write down everything you eat. She'd say, okay. And that would be maybe 9.5 stone. And I want to get to 8.5 stone. Right. And they started taking my body fat. And so I'm starting off body fat 11. So I'm body fat 11. I'm 9.5 stone. I want to get to 8.5 stone. And I could get to 9 stone always. You know. It's that extra half stone. So now I said, she says 2,000 calories a day, and she'd write out a list, and I'd write down what I'm eating, and while I was doing all the cooking, brown rice and this and that. And then I was, I say, listen, Gillian, I'm a bit struggling. I need to get 1,500 calories a day. She says, Johnny, you're doing a lot. Like, and now I was going to the gym in the morning and swimming in the evening. Or swimming in the morning. I was 2 sessions a day, and I was still at 9 stone, and I was starting to feel hungry. So she was down 15, so another week would go by. And I said, Gillian, I'm not losing what, 1,000. She says, 1,000. This defies all science I've ever done. I says, listen, Gillian, and race were after getting her involved now. I says, if you want to get on with the jockeys, you just make it easy for them. Don't worry about that science and all that stuff you've learned in college and masters in this. Just make it easy. Just help them as best you can. Make it easy. This is like nothing. Because making weight for a boxing match, you weigh in,
You make
you
it
go
or you
out,
don't. Yeah.
that's it. Like we have to make it from March to November. So it's constant. So you have to bring it in as a way of life. And I used to put up signs then. I've signs around my sauna room. Enjoy. Like that's one of the big ones I have going into the sauna. Enjoy. But that's the mindset, like, okay,
Abandon hope, all you who enter here. That's
enjoy, right? And then going out, I have thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm the lucky one. I'm able to do it. I'm able to walk out. This is what I wanted to do. This is what I want to do. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And the winning makes that worthwhile, does it? Is that like, or does
The winning didn't. The winning sometimes it didn't even ease the pain.
right?
Like as I said, it didn't even ease the pain because you knew like you might win 2 races at the Curragh, but again you have 8-11 riding Roscommon on Monday. You know.
Yeah.
So it didn't. So mentally, it was hard. Mentally, it's very hard, and I can see young lads coming in, and maybe they're not getting the successes I'm getting. Like maybe they're sweating the same for 2 rides in a maiden, 40 to 1 each. But that's tough.
Yeah.
Like at least I was doing it, and I was riding some of the best horses in the world.
Yeah.
So that made it easier.
I'm sure there certainly is at least a reason to do it for you. The season starts again in Naas this weekend, and I saw a great description of it about how everybody at the start of the year thinks this is going to be your year. It's like the start of the championship. The Meath lads are all, this is great. We have a chance against the Dubs. We're going to keep it kicked out to them for a while. But it is the start of it. It's like spring is here. There's a little bit of stretch in the evenings. It's bright when most of us are getting up in the mornings. It's like, anything is possible.
Oh, it is. It is. Like I'm so positive. Like there's no negatives in my life anymore. Even the negatives, I turn them into positives. Something good in this. It's hard for a while, but when you get through it, there'll be something more positive. There'll be something better along the line.
Yeah.
And I've got 54 horses now. There's not enough races for them to win at the minute, but they're all going together. They're like me, actually. We're all training together. We're all flying. You know, championship starts then. You're meeting Aidan O'Brien, Jim Bulger, John Hawkes.
Yeah.
Dermot Wells.
Not bad.
You know, so, but it's great. As you say, it is, you know, and it's been a long winter. Cold, wet, although we've had a very, very good spring. You know, we haven't missed many days. Horses are all forward. I'd say everybody's horses are forward. It starts now on Sunday in Naas, and yeah, really, really looking forward to it. You know, the Curragh, you can feel the Curragh now at the moment. It's getting busier every week. A lot of horses coming in, a lot of horses out in the gallops, and they're all working up the grass now because the grass is nice. So it is. You're dreaming. It's a dream.
How many 2-year-olds, Johnny?
I've got 26 2-year-olds this year. 26 2-year-olds, and like, you know, you're just my goal this year would be to hopefully have a 2-year-old that can win a group race. You know, that would, like last year my goal was to win a group race. We won a group race. We had a best ever season, 35 winners, 49 horses. So we're 54 horses this year, 26 2-year-olds, and I'm hoping one of them can win a group race.
Any Graham Garrity's in the 2-year-olds, no?
Listen, they're all Ger and David Jennings
I
at
was
the
going to
moment.
ask, how do you know which one? Like, do you have your eye on a set number of them? Do any of them ever surprise you and go, geez, where'd that come from?
Yeah, no, every week. Like I've got, like Fitzwilliam Racing is my biggest. They've got 10 2-year-olds with me, so every month I give them 1 to 10. But number 1 last month is number 9 this month.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you start putting the pressure on them, they're like humans, I suppose. They're like people.
They age in different ways.
You know.
Yeah.
I'd say most horses, January, February, March, they can do it. Now it's starting to put a bit of pressure on. They're going a bit shorter, going a bit faster. You know, the tempo is ranking up.
Yeah.
Some of them stay the same. Some of them get better. And some of them just fall away.
So who was the number 1 this week, Johnny?
Well, the number 1 this week is I've got a runner actually in the first 2-year-old race. Again, I plan to have a 2-year-old runner the first day of the season in Naas. So it's a horse my wife owns, so no pressure. But if my wife and a friend of hers picked up a horse for $3,000. He's cheap, he's cheerful, but he's ready to start off. And I wanted to have a runner the first day of the season, and it kind of gives you a line on where the rest of them stand.
Yeah.
The pecking order, because you say they're all going up together up the grass. They're all great.
I'm always fascinated by this. Are you timing them? Is it pure eye test? Is it like that short stretch of the gallops? We get them all out, and they're racing effectively, or they're close to their racing speed? How do you tell whether?
No, it's the feel and it's the feedback. You know, it's the feel and the feedback. You know, the feel they give you. You know, good mover, like soft ground, and then the feedback, the jockeys. You know, the jockeys. And we have one lead horse. He's a 9-year-old, but he's gone down so long. He knows everything. So we usually put them in behind him.
Right.
Go a good pace, pull him out, and if they get by him, they're usually competitive because he's been there, he's done it before, and that's the kind of tester.
If there was that video you came across as a kid of the two jockeys in the Sheik's colours in '87 and '88, were there trainers that you did the same bit when you were transitioning to become a trainer? You're like, I'll have a little bit of John Ox, I'll have a little bit of...
Well, that's it. I worked with the great trainers, like John Ox, brilliant trainer, Aidan O'Brien, brilliant trainer, Michael Stout, brilliant trainer. I've been to Australia, I've been to America. So, I all of those, the way, but training's a bit like riding. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. You know, get them fit. And like I used to say to Aidan, can you make them good?
Yeah.
And he says, no, but you can make them bad. But now as a trainer, I know you can. You know,
you can't make them good.
You can't make them good, but you can make them bad. Overtraining them. You know, they give you the signs. They give you the signs. Like they're training now, if a horse doesn't eat up in the morning, and he usually eats up everything, that's a sign, Johnny.
Yeah.
You either heat it, he's all right, kick on. You know, we take temperatures in the morning and the evening. If the temperature's up a little bit, he's okay, it's warm.
There's a reason for it. Yeah.
So you heed them. So I'm always looking for the signs. And when you're with them every day, you see something that's not usual. And horses are creatures of habit. Like I feed them every night at 9:30. I go out, it's a nice time to see them. They're in their comfort zone. They're all standing in the same place. I feed them. They all do the same thing. Put the feed in, he comes to you, that fella stands away, he whinnies, he kicks the door. And if they don't, you go into the house thinking, I wonder what's wrong with him.
You can do that when you have the number of horses you have now. If you get much bigger, it's going to be harder and harder. You're going to have to expand and trust people to do it.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I always wanted to be champion trainer and train 200 horses and take them all on. But big ordeal. We've got 56 at the moment. Got great staff. To get another 56, I need double the staff. So, you know, I'm happy. I'm happy where they are at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm happy where they are at the moment. I'm not saying I still wouldn't like... I'm not saying I wouldn't be able to manage 200 because I would. Again, I have my mind set in it. When I tune in and my mind set in it, you could accomplish anything.
But is it better to be the best trainer, the trainer of the best horses, or the best trainer of the biggest number of horses?
Well, see, the thing about it is it's all about winners. You judge them winners all the time. But Cheltenham showed you this week that, you know, the Garvin Cromwells, the Martin Brazils, they're very, very good trainers, and they're not going to do it every day, but when they target those big races, you can beat the big boys.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like, we're not going to hit them every time, but there is days that we will have our horse really, really ready. He'll run the lights out, and maybe theirs won't, or run a bit below par. But that's the way I look. But it gives you a bit of hope. And with Ken Condon, Ken Condon won the Guineas last year, and I went out to the yard the next day. I was like, you know, this can be done.
Yeah.
We can do it. Because you do lose a little bit of hope at times.
I'm sure.
400 horses, 200 horses, best horse in the world.
Yeah.
You kind of get a bit deflated, but, you know, you have to believe. I still believe. I don't doubt myself in any way.
No, that comes across.
I do not doubt myself in any way. That's one thing.
No, you're right.
I've rode for trainers who are brilliant trainers, and I'm wondering, what are you worried about? I wonder, am I doing it right? There's no right way and wrong way in this.
Yeah.
Just do the best you can. There's no right way or wrong way. There's no right way. There's no right way to train a horse. Different people do different things, and they get the results.
Even with different horses, they'll do different things.
But a fella says to me, "Oh, what are you feeding them?" And I can look at him and say, "It doesn't matter what I'm feeding. I'd rather what I'm feeding it to. What I'm feeding. Don't worry." You know? So you need to get the better quality horses in.
Yeah.
But who's to say the horse cost 300 grand is better than a horse that costs 30 grand?
Yeah, or three on Naas. We'll find out.
And that's what's great about this sport. You cannot see what's in them. But all I believe is if you're upbeat and you're positive around them, and the staff are upbeat and they're positive around them, the horses are nearly the same.
Yeah. And I'm sure that that rubs off on everybody as well. I want to just do this bit here because this Sunday sees 2 Tote sponsored races. The flat season, obviously, as we've been talking about, gets underway at Naas with the Tote Irish Lincolnshire, the feature on the card. At Downpatrick also, though, there's the Tote supporting Downpatrick handicap steeplechase, which goes to post at €4.25. We've got a €100 Tote charity bet for the Irish Injured Jockeys Fund. Our current winnings are at €2,014, which I think they might have been after your last visit here, which is like months ago at this stage.
No, we had a good day the last day. Yeah,
we did. Yeah, we could do with another one. But it's difficult this weekend to pick anything.
Yeah, at start of the flat, Johnny will tell you it's hard to know whose horses are more forward. And as you said, you could have trainers that have done a little bit more. I think Ger Lyons could have a good day in the first day. I fancy his horse in the Lincoln. It's at 4:10, Carawan. Johnny will tell you, Ger gets a lot of these horses, well-bred horses that have been running in England. Carawan is rated 83. It was with Sir Michael Stout, well-bred, won a challenge for maiden, and it's just a typical type of horse that Ger does really well with. I thought it had a really big chance in this. It's rated 83. I'd imagine by the end of the season it'll be rated a good bit higher than that. Drawn in stall 3. Former champion Colin Keane takes the right, so we're going to put the charity bet on Carawan, number 20.
To win or each way?
We'll go to win.
Okay, all right.
So we'll aim high. It'll be about 10 or 12 to 1.
Okay, right. Do you like Carawan's chances?
Yeah, well, I have to agree with everything Dave says. Ger's a great trainer.
Dangerous philosophy.
I rode a lot from him. He's one of them, not a small trainer, but he's 70 horses now. But he's one of the guys that he aiming big. He's got Colin Keane riding from, which is a big plus. When I was riding, I thought maybe it's the horses. Like, you just need to get on the horses. But now I'm beginning to realise that jockey, it does make a difference. And people say, well, you ride all the good, and you do. But why do you get all the good horses? You don't mess up on them. Colin Keane is a very good rider. Ger Lyons himself are like formidable team.
So when you were riding, you thought it didn't actually matter as much that you have a relationship with the horse. Now you're.
I just thought like it
at the start.
No, I just thought like actually it's easy riding them.
Yeah.
Like the hardest job for me was getting to them, like getting the weight off and getting there, getting the weight off and dieting and all that, like getting to them. Then on the race day, like that was.
But now you realise it's not because you see other people.
Yeah, well, I'm hard on them. The lads, I'm hard on the jockeys, because I'll be giving out to them and why can you do this and why can you do that? And
what do they say to you?
They just shake their head and go and walk off. You know what I mean? So like the poor lads, But now I look at it saying, right, I'm in control. I do the jockey booking. If I don't think he's good enough, I shouldn't put him on in the first place.
Yeah.
So I have the decision to make. I've got great lads riding for me now at the moment. Niall McCullough, Shane Foley rang me up there the other day. He goes, can I see you for a cup of tea? So when he comes for a cup of tea, there's trouble. I said, yeah. So he's after getting a job with Jessica Harrington. So he told me he'd ride for me all year. And then he goes to me, I go, what are we going to do? He goes to me, what would you do in this position? Johnny Murtagh, 50 horses, Jessica Harrington, 120. I said, go on, best of luck to you. Hope you can still ride a few for us during the year.
I'd say they feel a bit of pressure riding for you too, though. It's not like any other trainer. They're like, oh, sure, what would you know? It's like, well, these are my medals, these are my accomplishments.
Yeah,
it's tricky enough.
Yeah, it is. And jockeys are probably, hard to ride for, but hey, I know in my heart and soul that no jockey goes out there to mess up.
No, exactly.
No jockey goes out there to mess up.
I'd say.
And there's a lot of things that goes on in a race. Like, if you're following a horse and you just move off his heels to the left and the gap opens on the right.
You didn't know it was going to happen.
And
you'll spot that at least because you know exactly what you're looking for.
Well, no, but sometimes you can see it happening a bit before it. But other times it's just a matter of just moving like that and then the gap closes here and the gap opens there.
Yeah.
So I know these things that can happen. So I know it can go on. And
you're forgiving it, is that what I'm hearing? I don't know.
But if you have a few quid on and you're looking at a bookie shop and you're looking at them, you can see why the boys slate about it,
Let's look at the other races at the weekend as well. The 3:05. This is the Naas Racecourse Business Club Madrid Handicap. Another big owl field in this one.
Yeah, this is a race actually that Autad won a couple of years ago. Went on to win the Irish 2000 Guineas for Kevin Prendergast. Usually a good a good idea of horses that could have good seasons. And again, I think Ger and Colin could hold the key here. Xander won a maiden at Galway last year, and it's a maiden that always, you know, that really good maiden that the good horses come out of on the first day of Galway. Xander won it last year, and the key thing with Xander is that he wants soft ground. He's going to get that here. Big white face, big, strong, imposing individual. I could see Xander going well in that 305. And the 340, that's the Group 3, the Park Express Stakes. Your old buddy Shane Foley, I think he could potentially win this. Yulon Gold Fairy for Dermot Weld. You know, I just think like it's Yulon Gold Fairy is rated 105, and the nearest to her is rated 99, so she has a bit in hand. So I'd imagine that could be a good start to the season for Shane Foley.
And she loves soft ground.
Oh, she loved the ground.
She loves soft ground, and Dermot Weld, I know he'll have his, you know, that'll be her big target. You know, Philly Group 3, that'll be a big target for her. So I can see her myself being very, very competitive.
You're obviously totally associated with the flat. Do you ever see yourself getting involved in national hunt racing at all in any meaningful way?
I have one jumper this year. I have one jumper. An owner of mine, Paul McKeown, he asked me, could we get, you know, a horse jumping? So we have a horse called Prosecution. I thought he might do okay over jumps. So we ran I entered him at Christmas in Leopardstown. But I said to the owner, I said, there's a nice race in Limerick, you know, maiden in Limerick. I said, because them Leopardstown maidens are pretty hot. He says, Johnny, I live across the road from Leopardstown. He says, no way I'm travelling down to Limerick on St. Patrick's or on St. Stephen's Day to go down to Limerick. He said, run him in Leopardstown. So he's had a couple of runs now. He's not the best jumper in the world, but he might win a little race. Listen, when you look at Cheltenham last week, you'd love to have horses to be there. Yeah. You know, but there's a lot of Kilbeggans and, you know, Roscommons and Sligos and Thurles. And in the winter, it's a good time to get a bit of a break and kind of concentrate on the 2-year-olds. But you know, you would like to be going to those big meetings, because you know when you see those, you know, Cheltenham last week, it would.
But you love the flat. It's like a.
Well, I've grown up with the flat. You know, I've grown up. It's been all I've known. So it seems easy. But hey, listen. Anyone out there wants to send me a nice jumper, I'm willing.
Johnny came within that of riding a winner at Cheltenham, you know.
Oh yeah.
Golden Cross, yeah. You remember it well, Johnny?
Keeps reminding me of these lads. I rode the Stayers Hurdle. It was brilliant. You know, brilliant. You know, I went to Cheltenham, first time I ever been there. Didn't realise, you know, now I'm at the start of the Stayers Hurdle, Tony Mackay, Mick Fitzgerald, Carl Llewellyn. And all through the race, I thought I was going to win. I went to the second last. It was on the outer course, Stayers Hurdle. It's a half a mile out. I said, Johnny, take your time. You're going to win the Stayers Hurdle. I got beaten in a photo finish by My Way to Solzen. So it's the most. Still one that hurts. You know, you said those points. You know, there's points in your life. That one hurts. That one really, really hurts. Because imagine beating the jump lads in Cheltenham.
Well, I was going to say, how did they take your arrival in the weigh room? Was it like, oh hello?
Actually, they like. Just another flat lad having midlife crisis, riding over jumps, you know what I mean? And like even the flat lads were asking me, what are you trying to prove? But nothing. But I tried it when I was 19. I said, I got heavy and I got lazy, and I said maybe the jumps are for me. I tried it when I was 19. I had about 6 or 7 rides, and I never had much interest, and I didn't like it. But when I went back this time, I said, I'll give it a good go. It was over the winter. And Mick Halford had a few nice jumpers at the time. I rode 4 winners. I rode the Boyne Hurdle at Navan.
You did?
Group 2, won a Group 2. And
grade 2 over jumps.
Grade 2 over jumps.
Is it technically the same skill?
It's not. It's much much tougher. It's much tougher. Like them lads, like they're some men. You know, fall. I never got any falls. I was kind of hand picking me rides. Right. I had 20 rides, and my agent would ring up and he'd say, "You have a ride? Who's it for? Is it well schooled? You know? Oh yeah, we don't." But I really, really enjoyed it. But I knew I was going back to the flat, and it does make you. It was another eye opener. Not saying how easy the flat was, but I said it was a bit easier on the flat, but it was a great buzz. I really enjoyed it, and the lads were good to me because I know them all. You know, I knew them all. Yeah. Because in Ireland, we had mixed meetings, so I knew them all, and they knew. Listen, he's not here forever. He's going to get fed up with this. So they didn't think I was any threat.
Johnny, it's been brilliant having you in. Thanks so much. Very good with your time. And David, thank you very much for picking a winner for us today as well. Yeah. Hope you both enjoyed it.
It was great. I really enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Man all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's your Friday Night Racing this week, brought to you in association with GoRacing.ie. The flat season is back. We'll obviously be talking about that in a lot of detail over the coming weeks as well. If you have any comments for us, of course, you can just drop us a line wherever you're watching this, or of course you can text us as well. We'll see you next week. Good luck.
Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.